Hi guys, it's Ona and Giblets and Dr. Vicky. This is another episode of Moonshine. It is the Sagittarius full moon. It is occurring on the 23rd of May at, I have 8:53, so almost 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. And I want to again introduce Dr. Vicky, who is so gracious with her time, and they give me this time to talk about this full moon. You know, as I always say, like this is like a really big full moon.
I can't remember the last time we didn't say that. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think there's going to be some reflections of the eclipse, the solar eclipse, because of where Mars is. I think there's going to be it's going to be really interesting because the sun just moved into Gemini.
yes.
There's more of a cerebral flow to what's going on. And then this full moon is in Sagittarius, which is like the discoverer and the one that it wants to like go on an adventure kind of moon. So I could honestly tell you, I want to look at the chart.
Right now.
Yeah,
You want to look at the Aries rising? Yes.
what do you think is
Yeah,
better?
I think we could start with that. We get a good view of it, and then if we want to apply it, put the United States
Okay,
for the US, we can look at that as well.
okay.
Once we get the basics down of the chart. So
Yeah.
give me
I
um
think if I had a point of reference, you can see how significant it is because there's some really, really neat stuff going on with Venus and Jupiter.
okay.
There it is. Venus and
Yes.
Jupiter are exact.
Yes. And
Interesting. That's really cool. And opposite, really, the moon, because there's the sun at 2 degrees
yes.
of Gemini.
And we just came, we're having a trine between the sun and Pluto, right?
Yeah.
At this time. And that just happened. There's actually a lot of things happening on the day of the full
Yeah.
moon. Like there's any number of things going on around the full moon that are all significant. They're all significant,
Yeah.
including, let me see, which
One
one
of
did
those Red Star Journal days, where you just like flip back to the page and go, oh yeah, I remember. So I think what's represented mostly is air. So how you communicate. This is Gemini and Sagittarius axis, and it's the axis of communication. Who you communicate with and what you want to believe and what you want to think about. I think it's a good time to um remind yourself that you have this intuitive connection and you know what's right and wrong and factual, and I think it flows easier with
well,
this.
there's always full moons, of course, are points of awareness. And the awareness, I think, revolves around what we believe to be true, Sag, right?
Yeah,
What we're emotionally connected to being true, not necessarily what is actually true. The sun in Gemini should illuminate the facts, right?
yeah,
Gemini is discernment. And as I said the other day in my morning walk through the garden, with the sun moving into Gemini, this starts the tsunami of Gemini energy
yeah,
because we have the sun moving into Gemini, then we have Venus moving into Gemini, and then we have Jupiter moving into
right.
Gemini. And everything that moves into Gemini then consequently, shortly thereafter, makes a trine to Pluto.
Yeah,
And that brings in a trines
yeah,
are, and we can see it here, uh, with this. I mean, this is a powerful thing.
yeah,
Um, and Pluto in Aquarius is about humanity. And there's a um I think with all the Aries energy, we still have Mars in Aries. We still have, of course, Chiron is in Aries.
Yeah,
Still on the United States, Chiron. We have the North Node in Aries. Mars just came off of that.
it's
North
it's
Node.
that Mars placement that I think is would make you reflect on the eclipse, because that is where the solar eclipse was in April. Was at was that, was
19,
it
was it?
19? It was on my moon, I should know.
20, 19 or 20, yeah.
Year 20, so the
Conjunct
you
Chiron.
hide something in that eclipse moment. I think Jupiter and Venus is really cool together, and Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and that's where this moon is. So I think that's a auspicious time. What do you think?
I think it, well, it's hard to say because it's at the last degree, it's at the anaretic degree. And the anaretic degree is they say it's tired when things are at the anaretic.
It's
'Cause
full.
it's been like through.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of aspects happening
Interesting.
to Jupiter as it both leaves um Taurus and then enters Gemini. There's all a sense of like things that we've been working on sort of coming to a head of sorts or an understanding of sorts. And then once everything moves into Gemini, we get to talk about it maybe, get more information. I mean, if we think we have information now, woohoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course the full moon this is connected to the new moon in Taurus, right? That new moon in Taurus that we just had. Am I right? Yes, right?
Yep.
That was the last new moon. I know I did it, right? You think I'd remember? Um, and now we're sort of, whatever seeds were planted at that time are coming to fruition. And yeah, so I think a lot of people are coming to terms with, what they have believed and a realization that perhaps things need to change or they
Yeah.
need to change their perspective
Yeah.
in a way.
I think you're right. I think there comes a time when you sort of like you realize there are enough people that understand things a certain way where you're like, okay, then you have to give it the respect it deserves, right? I think it's a time where for the
We
mental
we
aware.
hope so. We
I,
hope so. One of the other things about this full moon is it does bring up, I think, issues around the media. And because the third house is media, Gemini is media, and then the moon in a faraway place, what's happening to the people far away. I think we're gonna get a lot of information about stuff that's I think been out there, but you had to look for it. Like if you and I'm not gonna necessarily say what I think it's going to be about, but
Mhm.
I think people who listen to the channel can get an idea of things happening far away. And of course, we just had the plane crash of where I think I think there were 6 people from the Iranian sort of government that
Oh
were
yeah.
killed.
Yeah.
At least four like higher mucky mucks, and then probably the pilot and whoever else was on the
Yeah.
helicopter.
Again, sort of, I know it's a little early because there's always a boundary in between those days. You have to remember it's not at that moment, other than an eclipse. It's not at that moment. But these energies sort of bounce in ahead of time and they linger a little bit afterwards. So the full moon, the moon moves into Sag early in the morning and then it's in the Sag for the next 2 days.
Yeah, so it's a full moon energy that's going to continue to
Yeah.
sort of unfold, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and this bombing is a reflection. It's a reflection of that of the eclipse time. It's already happening. So if you write these things down or cluster them together in a mental file, you know, put that one in there for sure. I'm sure it already is, right? I,
Yep.
I like this conjunction between um between Jupiter and Venus.
Oh, me too.
This Taurian energy being a little bit of a rumble of, the earth it's sort of equalizing itself. Does that make
There's also, as far as fixed stars are concerned, we do have Algol at, I think, 29, 20, 27, 28 degrees of Taurus.
Taurus?
And that's the, off with your head Algol. And so it, you know, I don't know if we'll get a description of what happened to those poor men up in Iran, but
Mhm,
I wouldn't be surprised somebody lost their head in that accident. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
I
mhm.
mean, this kind of stuff
And
comes up,
this is the throat chakra. This is the Taurian sort of
right?
general area. This is your communication, your throat. This is how you verbalize. So it's deeply affected.
Yeah.
How you talk, who you listen to, how you speak, all that stuff. And I notice when there's heavy Mercury presence, so the sun in Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and when there's a heavy Mercury presence, it takes some time for like the news. If you watch the news, and I watch it, I have it on, but the same people every day, if they stumble, or they can't read the prompter, if they, that kind of thing, and like, I just look up where Mercury is because I think about the whole throat chakra area and how it's hard to get things out when that energy is sort of, before it settles into, its shoots kind of thing, manifests itself.
It's, as I'm looking at this chart, it's interesting to me that both the moon in Sag is disposited by Jupiter,
Mhm.
which is in Taurus, and the sun is disposited by Mercury, which is in Taurus.
Yeah.
So
So,
there's this really, even though we're dealing with air and fire, there is this sort of underlying Taurian energy, of
yeah,
course,
yeah,
which can be very stubborn, but also is about our values and what's really important, like really coming to terms with our values, and sort of in a way being exposed for what's important to us. Like there's not, what's important to people by what they're doing and really what they're saying, I think, even
yeah,
at this point.
yeah.
Let me, I'm gonna put it on if it's okay. I think this is the chart. Let me see. So this is the US. For the US, this is Washington, DC, the
Okay.
same. And so for Washington, it's happening at 9:52 a.m. Actually, 9:52:55, so 9:53 a.m. in the morning, full moon. Of course, we're not going to see it because it's the daytime.
Yeah, it'll be underneath already. The sun will just wash it out completely. It's
Yeah,
last night I got a shadow of it. I'll send you the picture. It was cloudy, but it like peeked out for a second. I just stood there until I'm like, come on.
I've had those conversations with the moon before.
Yeah, yeah,
Come on, show
definitely.
me your beautiful face. Let me
Yes,
see. Let me see.
let's go, girl. So the things I picked up on were synesthetically, or as I thought about this, as I focused this, and it's been repeating itself, and I won't be satisfied until I get some kind of root beer in me, is sarsaparilla. So I did have the herb and I pulled it. I am going to try and get to Alchemy Arts and see what else I can find tomorrow, but I do have that as the aromatic for this full moon, and it is about toning your blood, and I see that a lot, some infectious stuff going on. What else does it do? General anti-inflammatory, so it's like having a Tylenol every morning, I guess, if you have a cup of tea. It protects the liver. The liver is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is really heavily represented during this full moon. And it cures syphilis. So, you have that problem.
Drink some tea. You know, we have to go to the doctor and get antibiotics.
Get the penicillin. It does not cure syphilis. It was just a folklore book that I found that in when I looked up the actual spiritual meaning or benefits and properties of sarsaparilla. You can do that on any Google search and find the exact same thing I did. It's just anecdotal because people used to use herbs to do as much as possible until they figured out what the herbs are actually good for. That's how you learn. So I guess you stuff syphilis wounds with sarsaparilla and some of them actually got better, and that would be a cure. I don't know. What areas of the body does Sag rule?
The sciatic nerve,
Okay,
the sacroiliacs, I think, the buttocks,
okay.
and the top of the legs, like not the leg, not the shin area.
So the thighs, not the shin, but
I think from
skip the ankle, we skip the knees because we know Saturn just
the knees
plugs you there.
the knees is Capricorn, so I think the shin might be Capricorn, and
Okay,
the ankles are Aquarius, and the
yes,
feet, of course, are Pisces.
yeah. I put my Pisces in Lake Michigan today. Went for a little drive out under the water, and it's cold.
It would be a really nice thing to do for yourself with this full moon, to get like a little, maybe a back rub or a butt rub or something like that. That
Yeah,
would be very,
yeah.
you know, or
So
maybe just stretch your legs, take a nice walk in nature.
yes,
Sagittarius is an archetype of the wild places, you know.
yeah,
And Gemini is the city, so it's like city mouse, country mouse kind of
yeah.
energy with the opposition.
I like that. I like that idea. Should
Do
take
you,
a
how about crystals? Do you have for me, fluorite came into mind for me.
that is right underneath. And I thought about that because I did not pick up on a grounding stone, but since we just had the auroras that I missed, I thought fluorite up to a little light would be pretty. I got emerald, and it is not something that I expect everyone to have. I've had this for a long time, and it's a raw one. So the clarity of an emerald that you would use in jewelry is microscopic. You really have to look in there, and you could see that clear jello almost
Right.
emerald kind of thing, and I want to bite it really hard. It fell into my lap, literally. I was moving stuff, cleaning, I moved some plants around, and it just tumbled out. And this whole thing, and seeing this Toto dog on the beach, this emerald field is very Sagittarian, as I have in my book of correspondence and references. But I think in it, the goddesses are Ceres, Isis, and Venus. So I think Ceres just moved into Gemini, didn't she?
I don't know. I will tell you. Let me go
Yeah,
to I will share it with you, but I will check.
yeah. The tarot, the Empress card or the High Priestess
I
card.
think Sedna just went into Gemini too, and
Sedna,
that
Sedna.
takes, right? Sedna is one of them.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
you're
okay,
right.
hold on.
I don't follow those as much because,
Yeah, me either. I know that because I listened to
right?
uh our little uh our little lady there. What's her name? From England,
Pam Gregory, Pam Gregory.
Pam Gregory. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I have to listen to her. But I have to go like close to, I'll listen to her for this full moon.
Did you say Ceres? No, Ceres is in Capricorn.
Oh,
Vesta is in Cancer. Uh, Pallas Athena is in Scorpio, and Juno is in Virgo. Yeah, the only thing, hold on, I'm looking. The only thing in Sag is the moon. Just over
okay.
there.
It doesn't have a lot of aspects to a lot of other planets, so it wants all your attention.
Well, it does, it is sextile Pluto, and it is the moon is sextile Pluto and the sun is trine Pluto. So we do have Pluto, but Pluto in Aquarius, these aspects it's making to this full moon are considered opportunistic and very what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficial
Yeah,
in their way, very powerful. So it is a time of where a lot can happen, I think, in a little bit of in a little window.
yeah,
But again, these full moons are points of awareness. It's not about doing anything. It's
mhm,
about observing, it's about listening, and it's about seeing what has fruited, what has come to fruition.
yeah,
And what do we think about that? And what do we believe about that? I think that would be accurate.
yeah. Because it's about your beliefs and how, if you think about it, you don't really believe the same things you did when you were little or what you were taught to believe. You've become aware of your beliefs,
Yes.
and that's very sad. I also picked the star um, incense because, I can't do an active burn or anything.
Yeah.
So I burn a lot of incense a lot all the time. So I have the star one and some sarsaparilla tea, and my emerald is literally on fire. I can't tell you, it really holds heat big time. So maybe not so much that, but something that's green,
Yeah, Wendy.
green, um, almost you have to scry it, sort of gelatinous effect to it, any clearish sort of thing would be okay. But that feeling is very heart chakra centered. And this is where we have to lift it up and speak from in this Gemini sun, is speaking from the heart.
Um,
If your
I'm
heart,
gonna pull a mystic sister oracle
okay.
for this.
I haven't decked out it, but it's the jazz deck.
Jazz hands, Gemini.
I really want to because I've been having these very heavy Wizard of Oz. I haven't put it all together yet. Vibes, kind of um Toto at the beach, the Emerald Isle, the whole Wizard of Oz thing, taking an adventure. That is the theme sort of Sagittarius. Um, I've just been feeling like that. So,
Well, and then the other day,
oh, I don't know.
Ona sent me a video of the wind and the rain. And I said I was waiting for the do to come like see her just on her bicycle.
Started referencing the Wizard of Oz when the sun moved into Gemini, and I didn't even know it. And then it all started one thing after another. Now, I don't know if subconsciously I'm looking for that, but I always ask to give me um hints and themes and ideas and smells and tastes, whatever, about this full moon that's coming up, not current, but coming up in a couple of days. So let's work on this. And then things start to fall into place. The signs start to match and run parallel lines. I'm like, okay, all right, this kind of makes sense. This is what I need to do. And this is what my spirit cries out for. It could be different for you. We might want to use a blue stone to represent. I have an orange candle for the fire element. This I can do supervised.
Yeah,
And
there's no real right and wrong. The suggestions that we make are simply what comes to us. You may have, something else that comes to you may mean something a little bit different.
and it's because we're reporting on a pattern. This is a pattern that's like this is the time of year when people get sick, upper respiratory infections, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's the air sort of quality time and pollen. And people that already are compromised that way are having an even more difficult time. And then it gets hotter than usual, earlier than usual, and infection is pretty widespread right now.
Well, yeah, and of course, Gemini, of which there'll be a lot more Gemini energy, especially with Pluto, in the trine to the Gemini energy. Gemini rules the lungs. And in Chinese medicine, the lungs hold our grief. And so we might find ourselves actually emoting in the most unexpected, at the most unexpected times.
Yeah,
And you know, allow that, because I think that there will come a time in the future. I don't know how close of a future, but I think soon we'll actually have a little time to think about or just take a breath from all the changes that we've been going through in the last really, you know, honestly, since 2001, really, I mean, if you look back,
yeah.
but certainly the last, you know, 9 years, 10 years has been especially um energetic.
You know what? The pandemic was a big sentinel event that changed everything. I mean, nobody wants to talk about it anymore because if we talk about it, we might regenerate it, but it changed everything.
It did. It did. And that's what viruses do. I mean, certainly back in the 80s, that's what AIDS did. It changed the way we lived. It changed the way we loved. It changed the way we look at people. It changed a lot of things, you know, and these things happen. I mean, we move along with the change. We're evolving.
Yeah,
It's all part of our evolutionary process, you
I
know.
gotta say, and it changed the way we practice medicine. And this time, it's gonna change the way we practice medicine.
As it needs to, because medicine is broken. I was in healthcare for 35 years, and it, you know, I did my best to, you know, to do what I needed to do for my patients.
Yes.
But and it's, you know, as a chiropractor, it's always a little bit, you know, you're always sort of like on the outside looking in. But then it started to affect like regular doctors, and I don't, I wouldn't want to, I honestly, I wouldn't, I would be a chiropractor again, like if I had to do it over again. I
Yeah.
was doing art. That's what this, all this, I have paint all over myself. So that is not a wound of any kind. I
So
was
cancel the
getting,
consult.
I actually had a day to like just create something. I haven't had one of those in so long. I was like,
How awesome is a burst of creative energy while Jupiter and Venus are talking to each other like this,
yeah,
right? I
yes.
haven't stopped. Half my table is full of leather stuff. I've been making eyeglass holders like a machine lately. I'll show you some. Just hang on,
Yes.
and we'll be done with the Sagittarius full moon. Because I think, you know what, Dr. Vicky, I think you gotta get first picks on this lot before it goes to the wolves at Wolf Bay. I just sent them 10 and they want more. So. Can you put your eyeglasses in there?
Those are great, Ona.
And this series, I did a holder on them. So check out the ones with the cool tattoos. Yeah, like the world. I've got how fun is this one?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, I know. Okay, I know. Of the good ones. So I've been on a roll to actually I want to start peddling them in stores around here that I can walk to. I've been suffering from traffic lag every second I get home.
And that's the other thing about Jupiter in Gemini, although I know it's not there yet, but it's give us a day, right? Or give us a couple of days. Um Gemini's commerce. And so this is a good
Apple.
time if you have things like goods,
Mm-hmm.
especially goods, but also goods and services.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be more of a um, a need or a, you know, people are gonna want, you know, they see it
Yeah,
and they're like, I want that, you know, I mean,
yeah,
who wouldn't want those?
yeah.
Head shoulders, right?
You know what? You need them for your glasses. You can't always use your head. Not always. I pulled a magician card for the Sag Moon. He looks like he's about to stare right into it. I hope I can see it that night. And the lovers.
So that's Gemini, right?
So it is sort of getting ready for this Gemini season that we know is all around the throat chakra, the lungs, and how we express ourselves.
So I selected the
Next one.
magical key for this full moon, and I will read it to you. It says, hope, faith, and gifts.
What's it?
Lost and alone in a deep dark forest, a poor bedraggled girl cowers in a state of hopeless despair. Now, we all know what that feels like. Um, a dove above her holds a key in its beak, which symbolizes peace and hope. Drawing this card indicates that it is now extraordinarily important to have faith in a benevolent universe. You have become susceptible to fear, depression, hopelessness, worry, and wild imaginings of the worst case scenario. Well, certainly the media helps us with that, right? You may have found yourself in a difficult place, but the challenge now is to be optimistic. That's very
Mhm.
sad, to look and be aware that help is nearby. Well, this actually sounds good for me as far as what's going on, um, you know, in the war-torn countries.
And you know
Use your
what?
imagine,
Go ahead.
huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
that's okay. Use your imagination for seeking the best case scenario to achieve a resolution. Trust that you will again find peace.
Yeah. I like that. It does, it always kind of leads to that. The key is always a symbol of gaining knowledge. It's an opening. It's an
That's right.
idea that is about to unlock. There's a lot of symbolism in the key that actually ran right into there at the end. And this is one of those moons that um gaining knowledge or wanting to spend your time with people that you can have a nice intellectual banter with or read philosophy or poems kind of make sense now for some reason. And then that is all bouncing off this new full moon too, is the gaining of the knowledge. Most powerful thing. And speaking from the heart. So speaking from the heart, I'm going to end this for this Sag full moon. I will have more available, and I am going to post that video on that storm we had yesterday. There's going to be another one tonight, so we'll see. It was crazy. It was the sun
Crazy.
moving into Sag, but the sun moved into Gemini day.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
really cool.
And the winds of change are blowing.
Man, they happened fast too. Very fast. All right, you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone. Take care.